The following program was produced at Stetson University College of Law.
Hello, my name is Craig Reaves. I'm a past president of Nayla and currently an attorney who's practicing elder law and special needs law in Kansas City. And I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about how elder law and special needs law as attorneys can help people who've been diagnosed with MS. But let's start first by talking about Nayla. Nayla is the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys. It was founded in 1987, and it is a professional association of attorneys who are dedicated to helping people who are older or people who have disabilities and guiding them through the laws that affect them, which can be many and can be varied. Elder law attorneys, Nayla is mostly focused on education, and that's education of its members, education of the public, like presentations like this, education of legislators, and education of judges. And Nayla accomplishes that through annual meetings, through journals and publications, through pamphlets, through speaking, through whatever method can be done to help educate everyone about the needs of people who are older and people who have disabilities, and about the legal issues and solutions to those legal issues that affect them. Nayla also has an advocacy component that is involved in working with state legislatures and the federal government in trying to resolve public policy in a way that, again, helps people who are older or people who have disabilities. So that's a little bit about Nayla. Let's talk about elder law and special needs law. An elder law attorney works primarily with people who are older or has a disability in whatever area or whatever legal issues are arising for them. Unlike most attorneys who define their practice by the type of law they practice, it might be a criminal law attorney, or it might be a family law divorce attorney, or something like that. An elder law attorney defines his or her practice by the client that's served. So there may be many, many issues that come up for people who are older or people who have a disability, and an elder law attorney is versed and aware of and capable of helping and coordinating the care and the legal solutions for things that happen to people who are older or who have a disability. Elder law attorneys also often work with people in other fields that are related. So it may be a geriatric care manager helping to coordinate care at home or find a facility to move to if it's necessary to do that for someone who's older. Or it may be a case manager working with someone who has a disability and trying to coordinate care at school and at home. Or it may be a physician that works with people who, again, have the special needs that we're talking about today. So it's not unusual at all for an elder law attorney to have a network of friends and providers and people they know who can help solve problems. The whole goal is to find out what the concerns are, deal with those concerns in a practical manner and in a legal manner. So let's talk about what elder law encompasses. I like to think of elder law as a horizontal way to look at the law as opposed to vertical, meaning that anything that anybody who is older or has a disability is dealing with legally, an elder law attorney is versed or at least knows about and can work with. Most elder law attorneys, though, cannot do everything, and so they will find a few of those areas that they are comfortable in, that they're good at, that they like, and they'll drill down and become experts. But by having this approach of all of the needs that are affecting someone who's older or who has a disability, an elder law attorney will be aware of those, and even if they don't practice or aren't an expert in those particular areas, they know somebody who is, and they know how to coordinate the care and the services. For a person who's been diagnosed with MS, there are certain areas of elder law that you need to be aware of, and you need to find someone who can guide you through. Some of those are planning for incapacity. There may be physical incapacity as the disease progresses. There may be mental incapacity that comes. Everyone's subject to that happening. But when you have a diagnosis of a disease that if it runs its course is going to follow a fairly predictable path of losing certain abilities to do things, then it's time to really get serious about planning for that. So if we know that there's potential for incapacity coming down the road, then we need to get documents and things in place to be able to protect the person. Sometimes no planning is done, and an accident will occur, or a stroke or something that will cause a person to quickly, without any ability to adapt and now sign documents, to quickly lose capacity, in which case guardianships are there to step in and be able to give someone the ability to be able to make decisions for the person who's lost the capacity. Sometimes even with planning, and we have documents, we're going to talk about them in a little bit, called durable powers of attorney, if they're in place, but the person is vulnerable, and signing a durable power of attorney doesn't take anything away from the person who signs it. It just delegates authority that's equal to other people to make decisions for you. So even if I've signed a power of attorney and given you authority to make decisions for me, I can still make all my own decisions. So if I'm having trouble making the appropriate decisions and I'm being taken advantage of by scam artists or someone who's trying to abuse me fiscally and take my money away, sometimes guardianship is necessary to protect me. And that's an elder law attorney's versed in recognizing that and working with that and getting the guardianship in place if that's necessary. If we know we're going to need long-term care would mean that someone needs help in performing everyday tasks. It's not rehab where I'm going to work real hard and go through physical therapy and get better and be able to do everything myself. When a person starts needing long-term care, it means that we just hope we don't get worse. But I need help in perhaps feeding and perhaps dressing and perhaps bathing myself and perhaps moving around and just kind of everyday, ordinary things that I need to be able to live, particularly to live as independent as possible, I may need assistance with. If I need long-term care, then where am I going to get that? It can come from my family, and that's often the first place and maybe the only place. But if people in my family can't, or I've progressed to the point where they just aren't able to take care of me the way I need to be cared for, then I may have to start paying for that. If that is a potential, and if you've been diagnosed with MS, that is a potential, then we need to think about how are we going to structure long-term care as those needs arise, as abilities decrease, and how are we going to pay for that? And elder law attorneys focus on those things. Also, where am I going to live? All of us have a place to live, and we call it home, whether it's a home we own, whether it's an apartment we're in, whatever it is, it's a place where we feel safe and we're comfortable and we like it there. And most of us want to stay there, even if we lose abilities to care for the house anymore or to care for ourselves anymore. Sometimes we can stay in our home, and if we, again, know that there's a diagnosis that may lead to loss of ability to care for yourself, then we need to start thinking about where's the appropriate place to live. And that may be wherever you are right now, and wherever you are right now may be perfect for that. Or it may be like my house, which is a house built in the 1920s that has narrow doorways and lots of stairs and no bedrooms on the first floor. That would not be a good house for me to live in if I needed to be in a wheelchair or I had trouble walking. So sometimes you can adapt a house. Sometimes you can't. Even if you can, it's quite expensive. So maybe there's assisted living, maybe there's other places that we need to be thinking about. Elder law attorneys can help you think through those options and hopefully make the decisions that are appropriate for you based on what's going on. working with families that are blended, coming in with different sets of children and different expectations is always a challenge. And elder law attorneys are versed in working through a lot of the family dynamics that can happen here. Healthcare, how do we pay for healthcare? Usually that's insurance. So what kind of insurance do we have, and is it appropriate, and is it going to be something that we can rely on in the future? And if insurance is coming because of a spouse or employment or things like that, we need to be aware that what are we going to do if that goes away? We also need to structure in place what's going to happen if we lose the ability to talk to physicians about our care and make those decisions. How do we delegate someone else to make those decisions for us, and who do we choose? Property management, we're going to actually talk about that a little bit later, but it's basically managing the property of the person who's no longer has or is losing the ability to manage it themselves. And of course, taxes. We can't do anything without talking about the fact that there are tax implications. If we sell things, there may be taxes. If we keep things, there may be taxes. There's tax on income, so if we generate income appropriately, if we have lots of deductions and expenses, that may be a deduction for tax purposes. So taxes, although taxes shouldn't drive the decisions, they certainly have to be taken into account when people are making decisions, because there may be a better way to accomplish things if we slightly skew the plan after looking through the tax filter at the plan to see if maybe we can save some taxes, and which of course saves money. Also included in this is income security. If you were unable to work, where's your income going to come from? Maybe it's Social Security, maybe you have a pension. Those are getting more rare as time goes on. Maybe you have investments and we can generate more income from them. And if you don't have enough income from your investments, then we're going to start chewing through those investments. So how do we plan for income? How do we make it so that it will continue to come in and pay the necessary expenses for where we live and for care? And then someday every one of us is going to die, and when that happens, everything that we own isn't going to go with us, so it has to go somewhere. And you can plan for where that goes. And sometimes plans are very helpful and very encouraging, and they really leave a legacy that people can be proud of and that can help others. Other times it's just chaos. And the elder law attorney can walk you through based on what you own and what your vision is of, if you weren't around right now, where would you want your things to go, who would you want to own them, and how would you want that structured. The elder law attorney can work you through that. Whether you decide to use a living trust and avoid probate or beneficiary designations and things like that, or whether you decide to use a will as your primary document and use the probate system, either way, the elder law attorney can guide you through those things. Sometimes people, unfortunately, who have a disability are discriminated against. That can be unintentional, just the way barriers are built in buildings, and there may be ways to adapt the building or adapt the circumstances. Sometimes it's intentional, and elder law attorneys can help people who are being discriminated against. You may live in an apartment, and your apartment landlord may not want someone who has a disability living there. And if a person has MS and they live long enough, odds are they're going to need some adaptive assistance, and that could lead to people being discriminated against. If we know that there is a diagnosis of MS and we know that there is a concern that abilities will be lost, then that falls into the area of a person needing special needs care or having special needs. It could be disabilities, it could be special needs. They're kind of synonymous. But we need to plan for that. We need to plan for the worst, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, we're ready. And that may mean trying to qualify for public assistance like Medicaid or Social Security disability. And if so, there's certain things we need to know to do, and there's certain things we need to be careful not to do. Again, the elder law attorney is the one who knows those things and can assess your situation and find out or determine what's the best course of action. And then there's insurance. You have insurance, whatever it is. It may be your health insurance. Maybe you have long-term care insurance. Maybe you have disability insurance. There's property insurance. The elder law attorney can make sure those are coordinated. You may currently have a job. How long will you be able to keep that job? How will your employer approach your diagnosis with the job? Kind of depends on the job you have, perhaps. If it's very physical, you may start losing the ability to function well at that job early on. If it's mental, you may not lose it at all. But it depends on what you do, depends on your employer, and also thinking realistically about how long do you really want to work? How long can you work? And last but certainly not least, there are a lot of deceptive people out there and a lot of scammers and scams, and people get taken advantage of, particularly when they start being vulnerable intellectually. And elder law attorneys can recognize those. They're aware of most of those, although there's new ones coming up all the time, and know how to hopefully get that resolved in a way that keeps your money and keeps you safe. Okay, so summary, I guess, of why you need an elder law attorney. They're skilled in public assistance and long-term care options. What are the options? And family, care at home, assisted living, maybe a nursing facility, and all in between all of those steps and stages. What are they? How do we plan for them? How do we make sure we can pay for them? What are the issues that the person with the disability is going to face? And what are the issues that the family of the person with a disability is going to face? Because they're not the same. Although they're all linked to the person with a disability, they're not the same. They don't have the same concerns and issues necessary. And then what are the legal issues? The other issues can be just how do we find care, and how do we provide care, and how do we plan for where we're going to live, those things. And then legally, how do we structure our lives legally so that we can take full advantage of the laws and we can make sure all the protections are in place. What documents do we need to preserve the autonomy? How do we make sure that we've got services and programs in place and keep them in place? Those are things that elder law attorneys do every day. And that's why a person who's been diagnosed with MS needs to think about hiring an elder law attorney and connecting with one so that they can find out about what they need to know about, and work through the solutions. So, 4 points. An elder law attorney can help a person plan. Here's my situation. I have been diagnosed with MS. I've got a fairly good feel from my physician what that means physically to me, but what about the rest of my life? What do I do? That's where an elder law attorney can look at what you own, look at your specific situation, and put together a plan to preserve your independence and autonomy as long as physically possible. And that involves all kinds of different tools and techniques that we don't have time to get into in this particular presentation, but you will learn them from your elder law attorney. Secondly, an elder law attorney is aware of the issues and can also learn from you of your particular issues involving how you care for yourself, and will be able to do that in the future. And if you lose the ability to care for yourself, how others can do that and what's going to be necessary for that. And then just making sure we have a good quality of life through appropriate caregiving, through appropriate people that love you, that you've chosen to communicate with doctors and care providers about what care you want and maybe what care you don't want. and also make sure that the housing is appropriate. And if it's where you're at now and it works long term, that would be perfect. If that doesn't, then we need a plan to be able to know where you're going to go next if you lose the ability to stay in your home, and how are we going to get there? Where do you like? If you need to move to an assisted living facility, what do you like? Where would you like to go? Maybe we should go look at them now, long before you actually need it, so you can get a sense of what the choices are. By the way, they're changing all the time, but it's still good to get a sense of what your likes or dislikes are. So if you're able to make those decisions, if that event occurs, great. If you're not, then the people who you've placed in authority to make decisions for you will know what your preferences are. Third is managing your property. We all own things. Some may own more than others, but we need to make sure that if you lose the mental capacity to make decisions about your property, that someone of your choice is given appropriate authority to do that. And that's usually done through something called a durable power of attorney for financial matters, and or something called a trust or a living trust. You can title all of your assets either in your name or in the name of a trust that you've established. If you title your assets in the name of your trust, then while you're alive and you're mentally capable, you're in charge of it, or can be in charge if you choose to be. But if you lose that ability, then you will have named a successor trustee who can take over and manage the assets in your trust, but only the assets in your trust. So even if you have a living trust, you also need another document called a durable power of attorney for financial matters. It's durable power of attorney. It's got different names, but it deals with your finances and your property. That's designed, or not designed, but that gives authority to people of your choice to manage everything that your name personally is on it. So it might be something that's in your name alone. It might be something that's joint with someone else. It might be someone that is in your name payable to someone else, but it's not in a trust name. And so that can be many of your assets. All of your retirement accounts and IRAs, they can't go into a trust while you're alive, or you've cashed them in, so they're in your name alone. Your life insurance might pay to your trust when you die, but it's not in your trust while you're alive typically, so it's that. If your checking account's in your name, and so on. You can choose the person that you want to have that kind of authority. And if there's no one in your life that you trust, then maybe you can choose a financial institution, a bank or trust company, to step up and do that. Because it's important that somebody that knows you, that you trust, is in these positions to manage your assets. So they can be invested appropriately, they can be liquidated if necessary, they can be spent on you and your care and maybe your family. You may have a child who's going to college. We want to make sure that there's money to help with that, and so on. And that's all based, you can set this all up in advance, and if you totally lose mental capacity, it can still be carried out. Lastly is paying for care. If you happen to have long-term care insurance, then that's a good thing. If you lose the ability to do the ordinary things we were talking about earlier, and you need long-term care. Typically, long-term care insurance policy is going to be triggered if you cannot do without assistance 2 of 6 items called activities of daily living. And those items are being able to feed yourself without assistance, being able to dress yourself without assistance, being able to bathe yourself without assistance, being able to go into the bathroom and do your duty and get cleaned up and get out without assistance, maintaining continence, not leaking anywhere, and lastly, being able to transfer from, say, a wheelchair to a chair or from one place to another, again, without assistance. Pretty basic stuff. And if you, however, lose the ability through physical or mental reasons, and you need someone to assist you with that, then you need long-term care. And if you cannot do 2 out of those 6 items I just listed, then you will trigger most long-term care insurance policies, and they will start paying money. How long they pay, how much they pay, Exactly what they cover varies by policy. You would have made choices when you bought that policy. But if you have it, it really is helpful if you need long-term care because your expenses will go up paying for that long-term care, and now you've got a source of income that's coming in that will help pay for that long-term care in addition to your other income. If you don't have long-term care insurance and you've already been diagnosed with MS, then odds are you're not going to be able to buy long-term care insurance now. So that's probably an option, a door that's closed, and we're not going to be able to do anything about it. But otherwise, you've got income and you've got assets, and perhaps and you've got family that may not charge and be able to provide assistance for you. And with that group and plan, you may be fine for the rest of your life. If it turns out that the cost of a person's care is much more than their income, then they're going to be liquidating their assets and spending it on their care. And if that goes on long enough, then you're going to run out of money. And when that happens, there's a program called Medicaid. It goes by different names sometimes in different states, but it's basically still known as Medicaid. And it's a government program that will provide long-term care assistance. Sometimes at the beginning, you can look at the assets and income and potential needs and know that Medicaid's going to be necessary, and there can be planning done so you don't have to eliminate all of your assets and become totally dependent on that program. You can be planning to be able to structure your life and your assets so that there's an ability to supplement that program if it becomes necessary. That takes time, that takes forethought, that takes an elder law attorney to understand and know how to do that. And lastly, in care, you may not necessarily have to pay people to come in and provide care. There's community programs that you could be involved in. There's day programs. There's Meals on Wheels that can bring food if that's appropriate. There's, depending on the community and the social service network that's there could be lots of programs that are available, and an elder law attorney is going to know of those or know how to find out about those and help coordinate that. So it's all about looking at a person's situation in the beginning and planning, putting together a plan. All plans are plans that have to adapt. Once in a football metaphor, once the game is started, the game plan goes out the door, and you're adapting along the way. Same thing here, but at least there's a plan, and everybody knows what's coming and where we're supposed to go with this. So, how do you find an elder law attorney? That's pretty simple. You go to the Nayla website if you have computer access. That's www.naela.org. And when you pull up that website, you'll see a big red button that says Find an Attorney, and you push on that button, and it will lead you to a search engine that will allow you to put in various parameters like where you live or what city you're looking for, or maybe it's not you, maybe someone else in your family in another town is going through this and you are trying to find an attorney in that place. By the way, the elder law attorney that you retain needs to be licensed to practice law in the community where the person with the disability or the person who is older resides. So if they live in Florida and you live in Kansas City and you're trying to find an attorney for someone in Florida, you need to search the community in Florida where the person resides. An attorney in Kansas City cannot help a person who's living in Florida and who's dealing with the Florida laws. You need somebody that's an expert in that community. If you don't like computers or don't want to do that, then just call the Nayla National Office. The number will show up at some point on this program, or just go to Directory Assistance and they will help you. Some states have chapters of Nayla attorneys that are organized and that are focusing on the needs of the elderly and people with disabilities in that state. And so the state chapter may have a website that you can find. Again, there'll be a search engine. You'll find when you look at this that you're going to see that some attorneys have CELA after their name, that's Certified Elder Law Attorney. Some attorneys will have CAP after their name. That's the Council of Advanced Practitioners. And some attorneys will have areas of expertise listed, and that's the Experience Registry. Each of those will give you an indication of the qualifications, and if it's in the experience registry, of the area where the attorney says that the attorney has experience. The CELA program is actually, it is a certified program. It's recognized by the American Bar Association as a certified specialty. Sorry, can't say the word specialty, but a certified attorney who has a lot of knowledge and experience as an elder law attorney. There's a day-long exam, there's an experience requirement, there's a renewal every few years. Certified elder law attorneys are serious about elder law. They aren't just a member of Nayla, they are also certified to practice elder law. You don't need a certified elder law attorney. It just tells you that that person has gone through a pretty rigorous exam and vetting process. The Council of Advanced Practitioners was started about 10 years ago by some of the practitioners, attorneys in Nayla who'd been around a long time and wanted to have a group of attorneys who were more experienced and could work on deeper level, higher issue problems and research and concern. And so an attorney has to be a member of Nayla for at least 10 years. They have to be certified as the highest rating by a company called Martindale-Hubbell that certifies attorneys. They have to be either a certified elder law attorney or a fellow of Nayla. So this is a select group of attorneys who are even more knowledgeable or more experienced in elder law matters. So whether you have a certified elder law attorney or a member of CAP in your community, doesn't really matter. Just look for anybody who is on this directory, who's in your community. If there's more than one, then interview them. Talk to them, see if you like them, ask how they bill, ask what their thoughts are, and choose one that you're comfortable with and that you feel that you can go forward with in guiding you through this. To learn more, visit the Nayla website. There's lots of information there. We just touched on a small piece of it. And be sure and ask questions and educate yourself. And hopefully, if you surround yourself with good advisors and an elder law attorney who can walk you through all the decisions and all the things you need to be thinking about, then that'll remove an entire layer of concern and anxiety that you're otherwise going to have there. Thank you.